What is up, guys? It's Fresh, back with another video in the Storytime series. Today we do have Entitled Parents, which I still get more requests for than any other subreddit. I hope you guys enjoy. Entitled Mom in Hospital Complains About Drug Addict Teenager. This story takes place a while back when I was 17. Following some abdominal pain, doctors discovered I had kidney stones. One of them had blocked my kidney, causing it to swell considerably, so I was taken into hospital for treatment. I was placed in the teenage ward, which was a separate bay in the pediatrics ward. Kidney stones are incredibly painful, and at this point I'd already had 2 surgeries, so I was extremely doped up on painkillers. My morphine was administered by IV, but I also had to take tablets several times a day. One night, a kid was brought into A&E with severe breathing difficulties. After being stabilized, he was transferred to the teenage ward. Because of the severity of his condition and his age, 14 I believe, his mom, the entitled mom, was given permission to stay overnight with him. He was brought onto the ward at approximately 1 a.m. and put in the bed next to mine. The noise of his arrival woke me up, and my body realized it hadn't had any painkillers for several hours. I tried to find my call button but could barely move due to the pain, and managed to knock it off my bed instead. So I started moaning in pain trying to find it. The EM flings open the curtain between the 2 beds and stares at me. I ask her to call the nurse for me, but she just stands there glaring at me. I finally get a hold of my call button and the nurse comes over. Before I can get a word out, the entitled mom starts complaining to the nurse at full volume that I'm making too much noise, I'm disturbing her precious angel's sleep, and that at 17 I should be able to deal with the pain, etc, etc. I'm in tears from the pain by this point, and the other kids are waking up from the noise she's making, so the sister, head nurse, politely tells her to shut up. I'm given another dose of painkillers and manage to doze off again, and all is well for a few hours. Come morning, my doctor comes to check on me as part of his rounds. I had a renal specialist as well as the general pediatric doctor. The EM corners him before he can reach me and starts lecturing him about how I'm clearly a disturbance and he needs to sort me out. The doctor, luckily, is amazing and firmly but politely tells her to take a hike. A few hours later, I'm given several of my tablets to take, and the EM blows a fuse. She goes over to the sister again and starts complaining that I'm clearly a drug addict who's faking it for painkillers. She starts demanding that I be transferred to an adult ward as I'm a bad influence to the other children. The head doctor overhears this and is completely baffled. He points out that the medicine I'm taking is all prescribed and I'm doing nothing to disturb the other children as I'm spending all day curled up in bed watching TV. EM changes tactics and starts complaining that the shows I'm watching are sinful and a 14-year-old boy shouldn't be next to a 17-year-old girl. I turn my TV screen around to reveal I'm binge watching Disney movies, and the EM goes bright red. Doesn't stop there though, as she starts demanding her darling boy be put into a side room for peace and quiet as the other children are too noisy. The doctor declines this request as side rooms are reserved for critically ill children, and her son has now stabilized and is in fact one of the ones running around the ward disturbing others. My mom came in to visit me just after this, and the EM attempts a new tactic by first telling my mom that the doctors are overdosing me and I should be taken off of the morphine, and then telling my mom I'd be happier on an adult ward instead of around little children. My mom tells her to get lost, a lot less politely than the doctors did. Luckily, the EM's request to stay the second night was declined as her son was stable and he ended up being discharged the next day. I still have no idea why she hated me so much. Too long, didn't read. EM claims I'm a drug addict, faking kidney stones in order to get painkillers, and disturbing her son with my moaning. Tries to get my morphine stopped, and me kicked out of the ward. Honestly, the first thing that went through my mind when I read this story is just how sad it is. I have yet to visit a hospital that is anything but depressing, and that's the nature of serious medical issues. But there's always a sense of respect for everyone else there. Anyone you walk by in the lobby, you don't know who they are, but you know that a loved one is in one of those beds. You know there's a reason they haven't slept in 2 days, and it sure as hell isn't because they really enjoy the hard plastic chairs that just reek of antiseptic. There's a necessity for sympathy in these kinds of situations. Your emotions are boiling over because of the traumatic reason that you're in this building, but you understand that someone else could be going through something even worse. To not be shown that level of understanding and rather be shown outright disrespect is honestly one of the most depressing things I've ever read on this subreddit. In a hospital of all places, I'm glad OP ended up alright, but I sincerely hope the mom was able to resolve whatever made her lash out at a teenager in serious pain. She should sit on my son's lap because it's his birthday. As for some backstory, this happened about a year ago when I was working as a restaurant manager. I was kind of a jack of all trades. I was serving customers, managing and guiding all the other staff members, and I also prepared the restaurant before opening every day and solved whatever problems occurred from the time I arrived until closing time. Our cast: EM, entitled mother; BB, birthday boy; W is waitress; and me, you guessed it. So I was just doing my thing, serving tables, keeping everyone happy, and keeping everything going smooth until I heard some ruckus at a table near the one I was serving. I look over and see waitress arguing with an entitled mother over something. I didn't really pay attention to it because it happens from time to time. A couple minutes later, waitress taps me on the shoulder and asks for some help. I say, "Sure, what's up?" And she said she had some trouble dealing with one of the customers. For some context, W was a 17-year-old girl that helped us out on the weekends as a side job. She started working about 2 months before all this happened. She picked everything up really quick, so it was rare for her to ask for help unless it was to lift up something heavy. She told me that entitled mom wanted her to sit on the birthday boy's lap because it was his birthday yesterday. Waitress obviously refused, so EM started to argue about it, the argument I had spotted earlier, and waitress just walked away. I told her to just ignore it for now, and if it didn't stop or it escalated in any way, to come get me. I said this just to see if EM was maybe joking, and waitress didn't pick up on it. I wasn't there, so it was hard to judge. Waitress nodded and continued her work. Everything went pretty smooth until suddenly I heard waitress scream my name. Me and everyone else in the restaurant stopped what I was doing and rushed over to see what was happening. When I turned the corner, I saw entitled mom grabbing W and trying to force her onto BB's lap. I ran over and pulled the mom away from the waitress. EM instantly screamed at me to let her go. I told her to sit down and then we'll talk. EM calmed down a bit and actually sat down. Then I noticed a tray and a couple broken glasses lying on the floor. I turned and asked waitress if she was okay. She told me she was fine, but dropped the tray when EM suddenly grabbed her. I told her not to worry about it and asked her to clean it up while I dealt with the entitled mom. I turned back around and saw that EM had gotten pretty impatient. Birthday boy was embarrassed and his friends were just sitting there in silence. Most of the customers had continued doing whatever they were doing, but there were definitely people looking over. I calmly asked EM what happened, not that I didn't know what happened, but I just wanted to hear her side of the story. EM: it was birthday boy's birthday yesterday. He turned 18. He was just talking about how cute he thought that waitress was while pointing at W. Me: okay. EM: so I asked her to sit on BB's lap for a bit to make this day extra special for him, but she refused. Me: rightfully so. EM: she is being paid to serve us, right? What's the harm in just sitting on his lap for a minute? Me: she's paid to serve you drinks, not to sit on people's laps. Beside that, she doesn't want to sit on people's laps. She doesn't know you or your son. Why would she be comfortable with sitting on his lap? EM: what's the problem? He won't hurt her. Me: that doesn't matter. She doesn't want to sit on his lap. End of story. Now please drop it or I'll have to ask you to leave. EM: this is unacceptable. You can't kick me out. Let me talk to the manager. Me: you are talking to the manager. EM: you're lying. You can't be the manager. Me: why not? EM: you're way too young. I was 21 at the time. Me: believe it or not, I am the manager here. EM: I want to talk to the owner then. Me: he's not here today. At this point, EM grabbed her drink, a full glass of red wine, stood up and threw it in my face while screaming, "Stop lying to me!" The restaurant dropped dead silent and I'm furious. Me, while trying to stay calm: pay and get out. EM: no, you can't kick us out and I'm not gonna pay for this. Me: You reserved this table through our website, which means we have all your contact info. If you refuse to pay, we can just send you a bill. So I suggest you pay for your meal, the glasses you broke, and leave. EM: I didn't break those glasses. She dropped them. Again pointing at waitress. I was done at this point, so I apologized to the birthday boy and his friends, but EM left me no choice. Birthday boy was very embarrassed, but he and his friends understood. I once again asked EM to just pay, or she will be billed later with some extra administration fees, of course. After a small argument about the broken glasses, she refused to pay and walked out to birthday boy and his friends who were waiting for her outside. While closing the door, she yelled, "Thanks for ruining his birthday party!" A week later, BB came back with his friends without EM to have a second attempt at celebrating his birthday, and we had a great time. BB apologized to the waitress for EM's behavior, and all was good. EM was billed and reminded twice. She still refused to pay, so she got a visit from a debt collector and was forced to pay 150% of the original bill we sent her. Damn, I'm absolutely cringing from secondhand embarrassment on this one. EM's son and his friends must have been slowly dying through this entire interaction. I know if I was the birthday boy, I sure as heck would have wanted to just disappear. It must have started with the mom who was just trying to be cool, hip, and relatable with all the r/fellow kids, but boy did it take a turn for the worse. Why wouldn't the 17-year-old waitress sit on your son's lap, even though you were paying for service? Oh, I don't know, Karen. Maybe because it's not a strip club? Your broken leg isn't as important as my kid. Some backstory. So this happened in October. I broke my leg pretty badly in September. It wasn't some dramatic falling from a roof thing. My leg got stuck between some tree roots when I was camping in the forest with some friends and twisted it so bad that my knee got really messed up. At first, it wasn't much, but after a few minutes, it started hurting so much. My knee was like 3 times as big as before and hurting like I got shot. Because we were in the middle of the forest, we couldn't get an ambulance, so my friends helped me get to the car and drove me to the hospital. I got some checkups, and I luckily avoided getting a cast as there was no actual bone damage except for the shard of bone that had opened up in my knee. It wasn't too bad as I didn't need surgery. My leg was put in a harness or something, I'm not sure what it's called. I also had to use crutches for like a month. The harness was quite large, so I wore big dress pants over them. So, onto the story. So when I was finally able to go back to school, I go to school away from my home, so I take 2 buses to get there. I got to the bus and there was only 1 seat left, so I sat down, put my crutches on the holding thing above my head, and we drove off. A few minutes later, a woman and her kid who looked about 4 or 5 years old came on. She scouted the seats and saw that none were free, then saw me, a large, lazy, good-for-nothing teenager. She came up to me and I knew something was about to go down. You guys already know what me, EP, and EK stand for. Entitled parent. Excuse me, could my kid sit down? Me, oh, I'm sorry, I have a broken knee and I need this seat. EP looks at my legs. But you're fine. Stop being lazy and let my kid sit. Me, no, really, I broke my knee. I pulled up the leg of my dress pants, revealing the harness thing. See? EP, why isn't your leg in a cast then? Stop lying and let my kid sit. She pulled on my jacket to try and pull me off of the seat. I slapped her hand off my jacket and told her to stop. EK starts whining about wanting to sit. EP, see what you did? You teenagers are so rude. Me, you midlife crisis adults are ruder. Also, you have a kid, so you swearing in front of him isn't really setting a good example. EP, don't tell me how to act in front of my child. She was full on yelling now, and the whole bus was looking at us. The bus driver stopped at the next stop and told the entitled parent and entitled kid to get off. The EP tried to defend herself by telling the driver that I was lying about a broken leg. The bus driver told her with the coldest voice ever that I got on with crutches, obviously struggling. The bus driver pointed at the crutches and said, "See?" The EP's face went red and she stormed out of the bus. Never seen that lady again. My knee has done a good recovery. I don't have to wear the harness or use crutches anymore, but walking still hurts a bit and my knee sometimes just gives up and does a weird click and boom, I'm losing balance. Also, this was translated from my native language to English, so I hope everything got translated correctly. Well, OP, thank you for the apology about language comprehension. I promise it was fine on our end, but the question remains, how come it was still so hard for this mom to understand that you literally could not stand on the bus? The audacity to plug on with whatever weird tirade she started, even when you showed her proof of your injury, is pretty alarming. I'm very glad the bus driver was able to take a hold of the situation and get the parent off the bus before any more trouble was caused. And it was clear the EM knew she had made a mistake when the crutches were pointed out to her by the driver. At that point, though, she was definitely in too deep. Hope you find that kid a seat somewhere, ma'am. It's not going to be on the bus. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.